Okay, dreamer, please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We'll be checking out the most annoying boss in 7 Nights, and that is Isabella. She is one bad, B word. Anyway, we're going to check out her skill set first. Take note that she is able to hit 3 targets with her basic attack. She poisons. She is also able to eliminate all enemies with her awakened skill and it resets. And she also has 4 skills. The first is Love Tap 1, which causes bleed to 3 enemies. The second is Love Tap 2, which also causes bleed to 3 enemies. And then we have Love Tap 3, which deals fixed damage, poisons, and increase the damage you take for 2 turns. And finally, for the last skill, it actually reduces your attack stat, decreases buff duration, and also decreases your awakening gauge by 7 gauges. Okay? This is the team I'll be using. It actually is one of the teams which I recorded very early on when Daya was released, and I was thinking how I can incorporate her into the team, and my guild leader Neo suggested that why not you use NT instead, because I was thinking of using Rudy and then that would completely just miss the magic buffs from Yonji. So I think NT would be the best fit for this case, and turns out this team actually works really well and I'm so proud of it. Okay, so we'll be showcasing it first and then going into a more standard team that most people probably will use. So the first thing first is to cast the top skill from Velika, and then this is followed by the bottom skill from Yuri and then the bottom skill from Velika. In this case, you will be able to use Yuri's skill to cool down Velika's skill, top skill. Okay, and then this reduces it to about 20-30 seconds. And then by the time you use Velika's bottom skill, the top skill is going to be ready, especially since we're using Seek here. Okay, so roughly that will be the skill rotation. Then you can use you can use Yuri's top skill to reduce Isabella's attack further so that you won't take too much damage. The only reason why I'm doing this is because we do not have a healer on this team, so it's very important that you keep your heroes alive until turn 40 at least. Okay, until turn 30 or turn 40, so you have to keep them alive. And really it's just basically recycling through Velika's skills and using her awakened skills at the most timely moment possible. Again, like always, with all the guild raid strategies, you really want to use the awakened skill when the DPS's health is at the lowest, but it's not really possible in this case, especially with Velika teams, because when I'm using Velika and Seek, I tend to give them reset awakening skill. So in this case, Velika can get her awakening skill up to 4 times. So I don't really want to wait until the end whereby I cast all 4, because I think that would be too stressful, and the damage that Isabella deals is going to be way too huge for Velika to handle. Okay, even with the attack decrease from Yuri. Take note that NT also decreases magic attack by 50% up to turn 5. So by turn 5, with Yuri and Velika's, with NT and Yuri's combination, you will have a very significant amount of magic attack drop from Isabella. Okay, so that's one good thing about having NT on top of having the skill nullification, which we will see come into play much later. Okay, so you see that now my Velika does have an awakened skill. If I'm not wrong, I casted the first awakened skill already. Yeah, so this is the second one. This is the second awakened skill that she uses after her own accessory resets. Okay, so at this point now, all you're left with is using 6 awakened skill to reset Velika as well as to reset Yuri, but do not use 6 awakened skill yet. Okay, do not use 6 awakened skill yet. What you want to do is to hold on to 6 awakened skill, continue blasting off with Velika. The only time you should use 6 awakened skill is after you use NT's awakened skill, which grants you skill nullification. And take note that for this strategy to work, of course, you need your NT to be level 42, because if your NT is not at level 42, there will be no skill nullification and there's no point in using this team at all. You're better off using Rudy or something like that. Okay? So look at Isabella's awakening gauge. It's about time. Okay, cast Anti's Awaken skill. Thankfully, she offers 2 times of skill nullification, so in case, you know, Isabella sneaks in a skill like in this case, you can be sure that the next skill should be her Awaken skill, and that will give you good damage. Oh, this is the second Valika Awaken skill, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so previously that was the first one, and that will be coupled with Yuri's Awaken skill buff, so that will give you the most amount of damage output. Of course, if you can hold on to the first Awaken skill with the Yuri buff to a later stage, you know, that will be even better, but you want to try to rush Valika's Awaken skill before 6 resets, and then after 6 resets you will have 2 more times. Okay? So it's a little bit confusing, I understand, because it's a really different strategy whereby you let the awakening skill from Isabella hit you, but you get completely nullified from the skill nullification, so you can go all the way with another round of attacks. Okay, because take note that Anti does reset her own awaken skill as well, so you can actually nullify against the next incoming elimination. So after that, okay, this is what I consider the phase 2 of the battle. What you want to do is to rush Valika's Awaken skill again. Try to use it with the Yuri buff. Okay, hopefully you don't take too much damage. Of course, if the Valika, if Isabella hits your Valika with the Love Tap 2, Love Tap 1 or whatever, or even with counter attacks, that is actually very ideal because you really want Valika's HP to go down as much as possible. Usually I will hope for, you know, by the time you reach the phase 2, your Valika's HP should be at half, okay, or even slightly lower to be safe, okay, in order to rush for 2 more ultimates, 2 more awakening skills. So unfortunately here, she resets my Yuri's Awaken skill, so I have to get it out ASAP, otherwise I won't be able to reset for the 4th time in time before, you know, she eliminates all of my team. So here I use the magic attack reduction, and that is to get my Yuri's Awaken skill, so I can cast Yuri's Awaken skill with Valika's Awaken skill, and that will be the 3rd set for damage. Of course, as the battle goes on, your Awaken skill should be doing more damage because of the Berserker Ring effect. And you know, if her Love Tap 2 actually touches your Valika, that is actually pretty good. Love Tap 2 hits very hard, so it can bring your Valika down to a very good amount of HP. Of course, not too low, otherwise you will die. So as long as one Love Tap 2 hits your Valika, maybe in the early phases, I think you're off to a pretty good start. Okay, so now that the 3rd set is completed, you will reset again with Seek, and that will be the 4th set, and you just try to get the awakening gauges up again and, you know, do the same thing. Now you don't really need to wait to use Anti's Awaken skill first, because I really don't think you have the luxury of time to wait until she uses her 2nd elimination skill before you reset, okay, because by that time you may be already dead. So just to elaborate about the team, Seek is here for Reset Awaken skill as I've shown you with Taunt, okay, but the Taunt really doesn't really matter because Isabella hits 3 targets. Daya is very important here because she increases magic attack, so this gives you a 50% buff already, and then she also provides complete immunity to bleed and poison, which are both the CCs that Isabella can land, so that is a very good thing. And I think that's about it for Daya. So Anti is here to reduce magic attack and also to help you fulfill the magic criteria, you know, for Yonji. So you saw that I used Anti skill a little earlier on, and that is really because I wanted to get her gauge up, or get her Awaken skill back, because Isabella actually reduced it. So if I didn't get this 2nd skill nullification up in time, I will probably be dead here and won't be able to get my 4th Awaken skill ready, because you realize that I have not casted the 4th Awaken skill, and that's not the most ideal situation. Of course, if you can do everything before, you know, the 2nd elimination comes in, then that would be the best, but unfortunately here I just had to miss the mark. But thankfully, you know, I got the skill nullification, and I'm really just hoping here that she does not touch my Valika at all. So here she does reduce my attack, so I decided that okay, I'm gonna delay for one more turn and pray she doesn't hit me, because if she hits me then I'm definitely gonna die here. So she doesn't hit me, thankfully, but my Yuri and my Sig die. So when Yuri dies, her buffs actually get reset. And unfortunately here, you know, I got blocked. I got blocked. Can you imagine the damage I would have dealt if I wasn't blocked? Yeah, so I was actually extremely tilted over here that I didn't get a very perfect run. But take note that this was actually one of my runs, which was not recorded. It was 65 million. So that's actually an extremely good score for Isabella. So it's possible with this team, okay? So for my Malika, I actually gave her double lethal, double HP with just Revo HP, okay? And standard PvE jewels with increased awakening gauge. And also Berserker Ring, reset awaken skill and increased damage on... Yeah, see, that's the thing here. I didn't have enough damage because I didn't have the right accessory. I didn't have damage dealt, increased damage dealt on magic enemies. Okay, so if you have the combination with the right accessory, then you will do even better damage than me. So yeah, the potential is there. And then for her traits, of course, increased damage on magic and increased crit and lethal damage on magic enemies as well. I have actually given her lethal and lethal damage increase also. And my fighter sword is completely geared for Isabella as well. For my Yuri, double HP, Willful Ring and defensive jewels. You don't need the poison and bleed resistances as I mentioned because you already have Dire on the team, so not to worry about that. Take note that you can deal with this with a level 40 Dire because you don't need her exclusive item effects. For my anti, she's kind of like on her PvP build. I just gave her HP armor and a defensive jewel and a Willful Ring, and that's about it. Okay, so take note again, she does need to be level 42 at least in order for this strategy to take off, but it's doable. And I think, you know, with the ease of if you've played the dungeon for anti, then I think it's possible you will have her at level 42. And if you don't have her yet, I said then you can always look forward to the next team. Okay, there are a few different comps that you can use for sure. And for Dire here, double crit, HP, defensive jewels and a Willful Ring as well. So she does have the celestial what's that called? Sharpness or envy on her. Yeah, I think that's the one that you will want on your Bellica instead, but unfortunately I will take the reset awaken skill over this anytime. Okay, and then for Sig we have reset awaken skill and the accessory double lethal. I actually gave him HP because I need him to survive. If he doesn't survive, he cannot reset awaken skill in time, and then the whole strategy just goes down the drain. So you really want to give him defensive jewels as well. And unfortunately here, my reset awaken skill is paired with a guardian ring. Otherwise, there could be a lot more bulk for him because he'll have if you have the Willful Ring, it's even better. Okay, I also try to make his counter about 67% with the masteries. So at least he'll get to counter sometimes. And whether or not he does it really, can, affect a little but not too much. Now this is the second team which I'm sure most people will be using, which is to use Aragon and live streamer school. Now if you don't have live streamer school, it's okay, you can use RNG-filled as I mentioned before in other videos. RNG-filled will decrease the block rate for you so that you will have consistent damage against Isabella. Now for the Aragon team, there's really only just one phase I would say, which is to constantly reduce her awakening gauge so that she won't eliminate you. Okay, because that's the only way you can do it. And with Aragon on the team, take note that he's also pretty frail. He cannot lifesteal for you with Sig as well. So you have two rather frail members on your team. And I think it's a little dangerous but also very doable. Okay, so you don't have to worry about the score. I also have 4 sets of awakened skills that I can use with this team. So I want to try to be able to do that properly, of course. Take note that because I was so used to trying out the Dire team, it took me 6 hours plus, okay, just to record these videos. It was extremely tiring. And by the time I got to the Aragon strategy, I was so tired and confused that, you know, it felt weird just having one phase, and I had to constantly reduce the awakening gauge, because with the Dire and anti-team I didn't have to do that. So it's kind of two different ways of playing with Isabella. You can either go with skill nullification, or you can go with the reduce awakening gauge using Aragon, and both works. Okay, both works. There is also another strategy possible, and that is to rush everything within the first phase. But I won't be touching on that strategy at all, because that is extremely RNG dependent, and I don't think it's very safe and consistent at all. Yeah, so always remember to monitor Isabella's awaken skill, and if the need comes, you know, you can always use Yuri's awaken skill Yuri's top skill to reduce the attack of Isabella, so that you are able to tank more damage. And of course, the more Isabella hits you, the better it is. And in this case, one strategy was actually to let the poison affect you. The same thing, if you watch the previous video I had on Furious Layer, you will see that I actually used the burn to my advantage. In this case, I used the poison to my advantage because I know I have live streamer school, right? So poison actually reduces your HP whenever you do basic attacks, and the only one I have poison on is on Velika. So when Velika randomly uses speed attacks, she will get damaged, and then she will actually reduce HP on her own, which allows me to deal a lot of damage much earlier. So that's actually a good thing, because one thing you have to keep in mind is that Aragon actually decreases the crit rate of Isabella. So Isabella may not actually do too much damage to your Velika in that case, because it's more defensive, right? So having the poison on Velika is actually a pretty interesting way of allowing yourself to be weaker yet stronger at the same time, if you get what I mean. Of course, the main skill rotation is really to use Velika's skills, reset, lower your cooldown with Yuri's bottom skill, while also reapplying the debuff on Isabella, and just repeating that cycle, and also casting Yuri's and Velika's awaken skill at the most appropriate times. Ideally, you will not want to use a skill right after her last skill, because her last skill actually reduces your magic attack by 70% if I'm not wrong. So ideally, you won't want to use any damaging skills right after that, and maybe just delay a turn or use a buff skill to get that turn over. And once that turn is over, the next time you use the skill, it will be fine, because the debuff, the attack lowering debuff, is only for 2 turns, which is very fast. So you realize that even up to now, I have not healed with my live streamer school, and I think, of course, healing goes against the whole purpose of the strategy, which is to get your Velika's health as low as possible, right? And hopefully, you know, you can manage that well, because I mean, at some point you will have to heal, but it really depends on the situation that you face. Now, if your Velika's health is too low and you feel that you still have awakened skills or damage that you can do, then I would suggest you heal up, because if the turn is too early and she isn't doing too much damage to you yet, I think you still have a chance to push for the score. Okay, just take note that the debuff from Love Tap 3 is extremely terrible, because it actually increases the damage you take, and in that case, it's going to affect the damage you take from the next attack coming in, which can be very scary, because you never know if it's gonna land a crit or a lethal or land additional damage, you know. So yeah, just be careful of that. Now in this case, you see the Love Tap 1 came after the Love Tap 3. If the Love Tap 1 touched my Velika, I would definitely be dead. so it's turn 28 and I think I managed to get all 4 awakened skills already, and it's only now that I heal because I feel that I still have the chance to do additional damage if she doesn't slap my Valakut, of course. And Live Streamer Scoot's heal is actually very good because within 2 or 3 turns we can heal all the way up to full health. And I actually managed to use Aragon's skill right before she uses Eliminate, so that was pretty clutch actually. Yeah, and it's all good. The score we got is actually still slightly more than what we had. Previously we had 59 million. Of course it could have been 65 million, but this is actually, if not my closest possible score to what I achieved from the amazing run with the Dire team. Now, unfortunately, she targets my Valakut here, so I had no choice. But if she didn't target my Valakut here, I would most probably, would have hit the 65 million or even more, which is gonna be extremely good for me. I mean, my front line is actually surviving very well, which is a very big surprise. Just didn't want to give up. Yep, so 63.8 million. That was a really good score to me. Of course, it can be higher given the right accessories and given the right fighter soul was there. So we're gonna look at the equipment now for Aragon. Double lethal, double counter, PV status resist, PV defense, lifesteal not important, willful ring is important, and of course because we are not using Dire, you need poison and bleed resist, and same goes for all your other heroes. Okay, bleed resist is a must have. You need bleed resist, but poison resist you can omit for Valakut. Same for Live Streamer Scoot. Okay, you want some heals so you can give her a weapon. Defensive jewels and willful ring is very important. Okay, and that's all I have for this video, so I hope it helped and it gave you a little inspiration on how you can deal with this very annoying boss, Isabella. And if it did, do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Big shout out to my channel members ZMD Phoenix, the Mocha Cafe and Yamaki for the support. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much and see you!